A soft drizzle fell over the quiet coastal town, glistening like tiny diamonds on the dimly lit streets. A man stood under the awning of a cafe, his rugged face half-shadowed by the brim of his cap. His eyes, sharp, scanning, seemed to hold a lifetime of pain and secrets. He checked his watch again. 10 minutes late. He almost left, but something told him to wait. He didn't know that this night the blind date arranged by his best friend was about to change everything. Across town, a woman sat in her parked car, her trembling hands gripping the steering wheel. Her heart raced as the rain tapped against the glass. She wasn't used to this, to hoping. Not after years of being forgotten, left behind, abandoned by the one person who should have loved her the most. Tonight, she wasn't meeting a stranger. She was meeting a test of faith, a chance to see if she still believed in people. Little did she know, her past and his would collide in ways neither could have imagined. The man's name was Ethan Cole. Former Navy SEAL, single father, and someone who'd seen enough loss to last a lifetime. After retiring from service, he'd moved to this small town with his 6-year-old daughter, Hope. His wife had passed away while he was overseas. Cancer had taken her faster than he could make it home. He blamed himself for missing the last moments, for not being there when she needed him most. Now, everything he did was for his little girl. Tonight's blind date wasn't his idea. His friend Jake, the town's sheriff, had set it up. "You need to live again, man," Jake had said. But Ethan didn't believe in second chances. Not until he saw her. She entered the cafe quietly, a woman in her early 30s, tall and graceful yet carrying a kind of fragility that drew him in instantly. She brushed her damp hair behind her ear, her eyes deep hazel, searching, uncertain. When she looked up and met his gaze, it was as if the whole room paused. "Hi. I'm Aria," she said softly. "Ethan," he replied, standing to shake her hand. His grip was firm, but gentle. The first few minutes were awkward. Small talk, hesitant smiles, the clinking of coffee cups. But slowly, something began to shift. He asked about her work. She owned a small flower shop on the edge of town. She asked about his daughter, and his eyes softened when he spoke of Hope. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something stir, something warm, almost like peace. Then Aria mentioned her past. "I grew up in the city," she said, tracing the rim of her mug. "My father, he was a CEO. Powerful, cold. He left when I was young. My mother tried her best, but she died when I was 16. Ethan froze. There was something in her voice, something familiar. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "It's fine," she said with a faint, brittle smile. "I've spent most of my life trying not to be like him." They talked for hours, unaware that the cafe had emptied and the rain had stopped. When they finally walked outside, the night air felt different, alive. Ethan offered to walk her to her car, and when she turned to thank him, their eyes met again. Something unspoken passed between them. It wasn't love, not yet. But it was a spark. The following week, Aria visited Ethan's workshop. He was fixing an old motorcycle, hands stained with grease, hair falling into his eyes. Hope was nearby, drawing with chalk on the floor. When Aria stepped in, the little girl looked up and grinned. "You're pretty," Hope said simply. Aria laughed, kneeling to her level. "Thank you, sweetheart." From that moment, Hope adored her. They baked cookies together, painted little flower pots, and watched sunsets from the porch swing. Ethan watched too, from a distance, trying not to hope too much. But he couldn't help it. Then came the storm. It was late one evening when Ethan received a call from an unknown number. He answered and froze. It was Aria's father. "Stay away from my daughter." The man's voice was cold, commanding. "She's been through enough. I won't let her waste her life in some small town." Ethan's jaw tightened. "She's not your decision to make," he said flatly, but the call stirred something in him, something protective, something old. He realized Aria had never fully told him what had happened between her and her father. The next day, she didn't show up. Days turned to weeks. Ethan tried calling, texting, visiting the flower shop, but it was closed. Hope asked every night where Aria went. He didn't have an answer. Then one morning, he found an envelope taped to his door. Inside was a single note in Aria's handwriting. "I need to face my past before I can deserve a future. Please don't look for me." Ethan sat on the porch for hours, the letter trembling in his hands. Hope came outside, climbing onto his lap. "Daddy," she whispered, "will she come back?" He didn't know. But he told his daughter what he told himself: if she's meant to, she will. Months passed. Winter came and went. Life returned to a quiet rhythm: school, work, bedtime stories. But every time Ethan passed the flower shop, he slowed down, hoping. Then, one spring afternoon, a familiar voice called out behind him, "Ethan." He turned, and there she was. Aria, standing in the sunlight, her hair longer, her eyes clearer. She looked different, stronger, freer. "I went back," she said softly. "I confronted him. He didn't change. But I did. I realized. I don't need his love to know my worth." Ethan stepped closer, his heart pounding. "And what about us?" She smiled faintly, tears glistening. "If you'll still have me. I'd like to try again." Before he could speak, Hope came running out from behind the gate, squealing, "Aria." Aria knelt, hugging the little girl tight. I missed you too, she whispered. Ethan watched, his throat tight. For the first time in years, the walls around his heart began to crumble. He walked over, cupped Aria's face gently, and said, "You don't have to try alone anymore." The three of them stood there, the wind rustling through the garden, the scent of spring flowers in the air, a small family stitched together by broken pasts, but healed by the courage to love again. That night, under a sky full of stars, Ethan told Aria something he hadn't told anyone. "When I lost my wife, I thought that was it. That love doesn't happen twice. But then I met you, and I realized love isn't about finding perfection. It's about finding peace." She reached for his hand. "And home." He smiled softly. "And home." The story ended not with fireworks, but with quiet certainty, the kind that comes after a long storm. Aria reopened her flower shop. Ethan began teaching at a local veterans center. Hope grew up surrounded by laughter and late-night stories on the porch, and every morning, as the sun rose over the coast, Ethan and Aria stood side by side, proof that sometimes, the best love stories are the ones that bloom from broken roots. A blind date that began with hesitation had turned into something deeper, two souls finding the courage to heal together, and for anyone watching, the message was clear. No matter how shattered the past, love always finds its way home.